Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining the Ed Sullivan Experience. I want to thank my special guest, Mike Dupler, for joining us today. He's going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is Bigfoot. You see my shirt here. It says Believe. You guys know I've talked about it before. I have my cast here from 1982. And one of the biggest films that I loved was the 1967 Patterson Gimlin film with the very first Bigfoot walking and turning his head. And that's what got me as a kid starting to research all this and look into this. So the name of Mike's book is On the Trail of Bigfoot, Tracking the Enigmatic Giants of the Forest. And you can see it right there. Very cool book. I just got it, so I apologize. I have not had a chance to go through the whole thing, but Mike's going to talk to us about it. Mike, thank you for joining the show.
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So, this is not your first book,
This is my
correct?
first published book.
Okay. Because you actually started in the paranormal, right? And
Correct.
Still are into paranormal, correct? Okay, so are you just a hobbyist for paranormal? Is this something that you do for a living? You've looked for ghosts or paranormal experiences, or what happened? How did you get started?
I got started probably like everybody else did, watching ghost hunters on TV.
Okay.
I decided that I could do that. I could give that a try. I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio, born and raised there. And in Mansfield, Ohio, which is about 30 miles north of Columbus, there's a abandoned prison. It's the Ohio State Reformatory, where they do ghost hunts and tours and that type of thing. So I conned my wife into going there with me on an overnight ghost hunt. Overnight ghost hunt,
overnight.
Yeah. And
nice.
All I had was, as far as equipment goes, we stopped at Walgreens and got a couple disposable 35 millimeter cameras, and that was it. So we just kind of bumbled our way through the prison and taking pictures here and there, whatever. And as the evening progressed, they have everybody come down for pizza and drinks and whatever, that way you can get a rest and you can chat back and forth and whatever. Well, it's about midnight or so, and we hit it pretty good, so we decided we've had enough. So I had one picture left on my disposable camera, and it was in an area called the Bullpen, which is a central area. From there, you go to the different cell blocks. So I just snapped a picture in the Bullpen and caught a full-bodied apparition with that last picture as we were walking out the door. It looked to be a gentleman in a wheelchair with like Victorian clothing, and he was floating 3 feet off the ground. So,
oh my God! So, and you spent the night there?
It was an overnight, but you don't have to stay all night. We stayed till about midnight, 12:30, and then we left. We had a hotel, so
I'd have been gone. I just saw that. And I've been gone because, to be honest, I've been a real skeptic about the ghost thing for a while. My wife is so into the ghost and hunting and paranormal and stuff like that. And when I started this show, I said, okay, well, I have to have an open mind. I've never seen one. Of course, I've never seen a Bigfoot or UFO or alien either, but I still believe in those. So I have to have an open mind. So we went on vacation in Chattanooga, and there they had a ghost hunt at one of the old colleges there. And they had all kinds of equipment they gave us, and it was amazing. Did we see anything? No, but did I feel something? Yes. It turned me around a little bit to start believing, so now I want to start really looking into this more. And then as I started diving into the UFOs and alien stuff, I started wondering, is there a correlation between both? Could aliens be ghost? So, but that's a whole different story. We're here to talk about your book and Bigfoot and everything else. So, so what made you get into Bigfoot?
Well, I did not see that ghost at the Ohio State Reformatory. I took a picture of it. I had no idea it was there until I get the pictures developed. And
oh wow. Okay.
you felt something? I am not sensitive one iota. One could walk right up to me and I wouldn't know it. I am not sensitive at all. But the way I got into the Bigfoot, my daughter and I were in Oregon. We were in Portland. We were investigating the Shanghai tunnels, and we had rented a cabin that was in a state park halfway between Portland and the ocean. So one morning we got up and decided we was going to go to the ocean for the day. So we were driving back roads heading towards the interstate, and out in a field, I saw these trees stuck in the ground upside down. There's a picture of it in my book that I took from the moving cars. It's not great, but you can tell what it is. And I had seen a documentary called Myths and Monsters of Alaska, and one of the segments was on Prince of Wales Island. The inhabitants talk about the hairy men taking blown down trees and sticking them in the ground upside down to mark their territory. Now, I don't know if Bigfoot did the trees in Oregon, but it was enough to pique my curiosity that I might there might be something to this. So once I got back to Ohio, I corralled my sister into going to Salt Fork State Park, which I researched, and it's supposedly, or it is, the Bigfoot hotspot in Ohio. So we went there and investigated.
And there you saw, which you have some of the pictures here, right?
That was on a different occasion, but that was at Salt Fork.
Was it? Okay, so where you and your sister went, you did not see any of these formations?
The first thing we did, we had no idea what we were doing, was we parked the car and we started walking a path that went around the lake, and we wandered into a ravine and just sat on a log for a while. We'd figured we'd sit there and listen for a while. And my sister looked down, and pressed into the leaf litter was a track that looked exactly what I would think a Bigfoot track would look like. This track was 18 inches long and 6 inches wide. And once again, we found something the first time we went out.
So you took pictures of that, correct? And
no,
that's in your
those
book
are not.
as well, right?
Those got lost when one of my computers crashed. But I have the hard copy.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question, though. What were you going to do if you ran into one? Because you said this was your first time going out. You really
that's why I took my sister, because I can run faster than her.
That's exactly what I would have said too. Yep. Hey, you better catch up with me.
That far ahead, so
that's pretty funny. And that's how it is. I think when you first start doing these things, is you don't think, you don't plan, and I think that's when most of the stuff really happens, or you find a lot of stuff. Like you said, you found your first footprint,
right
there,
exactly.
So from there, you and your sister both agreed that, that's probably a Bigfoot footprint. So where did you go
from there?
We
just looked around a bit more, and then we left. But we did return to the same location maybe a month or so later, and we noticed on top of the hill by the ravine these bent trees. We didn't think that was natural, so we climbed on top of this hill, and I saw a Bigfoot structure like I had seen in the Bigfoot documentaries, the type of structure that they make. So I took pictures of it, and there were some other type of anomalies, woods anomalies around. And we returned there 3 or 4 times over the summer, and each time I would take pictures of this structure, and comparing the pictures over time, the structure changes. There were subtle changes made to the structure over the summer that we visited this, and it brought me to a conclusion that this could be possibly a way they could communicate. If you have, Bigfoots are theoretically travel in family units, male, female, 2 or 3 young or whatever, but they're scattered. If you have something like this in a central location, and other family groups or whatever knew about this, then you could make a message on this structure that another group could read. And if you change the structure, you change the message. You can update or whatever. You could use this like a billboard.
So you don't think these structures were shelter
there was
at
no way
all?
this could be a shelter.
Okay. So what you're saying is they were kind of like smoke signals, or kind of like leaving breadcrumbs for another group of Bigfoots or Sasquatches that come by and say, hey, this is the message for you guys.
Right.
Correct?
They can say amp flows in town or whatever,
Right. So I'm assuming that over the how long you been doing this now with the Bigfoots?
About 10 years.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. So I'm pretty sure you've gathered up all kinds of research and information on these structures and started comparing these structures to where, have you been able to figure out some kind of language or what it might mean?
That would be very difficult.
Have you seen?
Since when you find a structure or a series of structure, you have no idea what the context is.
Okay.
I have found.
But have you seen the same
Yes.
ones in different areas,
Yes.
so different
The
states?
structure I found at Salt Fork, I was on a black bear hunt in Nova Scotia, and I was sitting in my tree stand, and I looked over, and there was a structure that resembled very much the one that I had found in Ohio.
Okay. So that's what makes me think, okay, so your theory on this has got to be correct, because if you're finding the exact same ones and then they're altered down the road, it's got to be some kind of message that's sent out at different places.
Right. There was a documentary, Bigfoot, the Definitive Guide, that had Jeff Meldrum and Dr. Ian Redman. Dr. Redman was on Vancouver Island, which is off the coast of British Columbia, and he found a structure, and the structure that he found on that documentary is the same as I found in Ohio and the same as I found in Nova Scotia. Very similar.
And has he talked to you? Have you talked to him about
No.
your findings as well? No? Okay. So I'm just wondering if you guys had gotten your information together, if there was some place that you could get that information so that everybody, well, of course, if they buy your book, then
There
they'll
you
have that
go.
information, correct? So that's what they need to do, is just buy the book. So let me ask you a question. In all the research you've been doing, so you found some
Right.
footprints, correct? You found the structures. Have you found maybe leftover food or scat or anything in certain areas that
I
you've
have
seen?
looked for feeding areas and that type of thing, and I have never found what I would consider to be a feeding area or scat. It could be possible that they defecate in streams, or actually just dig a hole and bury it, that type of thing. Or if they did defecate in the woods, it wouldn't last very long anyway. So that would be rather hard to find.
Okay. So, and that's where I run into issues. I mean, because I totally believe in Bigfoot. Totally. But I have a hard time that we can't get a clear picture. We have trail cams that we can set up and see. I can see deer, coyote, foxes, everything clear as day on these things. But I can't get a clear picture of a Bigfoot. And we can't find where are they sleeping at nights, especially if they're traveling in as a group or with a family. So they have children, so they've got to be able to house the children, house somewhere. They've got to be able to eat. What are they eating? Do we have any clue what they might be eating?
There's a theory that one of their main food sources is whitetail deer. There's all kinds of stories about Bigfoot's hunting deer, carrying deer, whatever. And there's another theory that they are omnivore, that they eat berries, that type of thing, and they actually migrate to food sources. Like if berries were ripe in Ohio, they would be in Ohio, and maybe further south later in the year when they get ripe in another area, that type of thing.
So, and that makes a lot of sense. So I know they have now. When I was a kid, I grew up thinking there was only one Bigfoot. Okay, because back in my day, when I was a kid, and I don't know how old you are, but I'm almost 60.
I got you beat.
Back in my day, we had three. So then we only had 3 channels on the TV. Anything you need to find, you had to go to the library or get an encyclopedia. And that's how I found the first book on Bigfoot. And it was the Patterson-Gimlin film book that had the actual pictures. And I must have read that thing 1 billion times. But I'd never seen anything else about any other Bigfoots until I got older. Then I realized, oh, wait, there's not just one. And now I see pictures all the time. Theories on, okay, their families. From what I understood, that picture from the Patterson-Gimlin film from '67, that Bigfoot that was walking that they got the picture of was actually a female, they said. So as I got older, I'm just blown away by this. And you have some fascinating pictures in here in your book as well. Let me see here on page 50. I think it's 54. Hold on a second. No, 56. Page 56 here. I'm going to hold it up to my camera here real quick and see. And what I'll do is post it. I'm going to post this picture on this video as well. Now, my audio podcast people won't be able to see it, but they'll have to go to YouTube and they can watch the video. So where was this taken? It says stealthy Bigfoot peeking from the brush. So where was this picture taken at?
State Park. My sister and I, of course, were followed a dry creek bed back about half a mile or so into the woods because I knew there was some caves back in there. But the terrain got rough and I didn't want to take my sister through there. So I just stood there and just took a series of pictures into the woods. I took probably maybe 40 pictures. And when I brought them up on my computer to look at them, I saw these black dots in the distance and I enhanced them. And they were these Bigfoots hunkered down in the brush watching us. There were 4 of them. There were 3 in the brush and 1 in a tree. We had no idea they were there. There was no sound, no motion, no smell, nothing to indicate that they were there. Now, we walked back in on that dry creek bed. We never saw them set up in the brush. I don't know if they were there to begin with or moved in on us without us knowing about it. I have no idea. But they were there watching us.
So that's amazing. So on page 58, too, you show what is like a Bigfoot nest. So you believe that is where they were hunkering down, maybe?
I found this in the same park, but different areas of park. And that's actually the second nest I'd found in that area. But,
how far of an area was it? Do you know?
It was probably 3 or 4 miles from where we took the pictures. But, yeah, that was actually the second nest that I had found. And I think they call them nests, but I don't think that is a correct term. The location of these nests would not indicate that this is a place where they lived. Okay? This was too close to human habitation. I believe that these are strategically placed to either hide in, if they need to hide real quick, or maybe a hunting blind, or possibly even storm shelter in case a storm blew in on them. And they can have these set up here and there, to get into in case they needed to conceal themselves.
Right. And your book said that it was big enough, though, that you could stand inside of it. So, but there was nothing inside.
I looked around for hair samples or whatever, but it was just too too much brush and too tangled to find something, even if something was there. But it looked like as though something had laid down in there. There was like mashed down or whatever, but I didn't see any hair samples or anything.
So it could have almost been like a boma, correct? Where they were inside, maybe at night, and protecting themselves, even though it was close to habitat of humans. Maybe, and this is just me thinking out loud, maybe it was a place where one stayed to kind of keep a lookout.
Yes.
In case humans were coming by, they were the lookout to warn the others. Okay. Well, there. See, I'm not too bad at thinking about this either.
I'm good.
I'm trying. So then I saw another picture on page 84. This was an impression of Bigfoot face in the leaves.
Okay.
All right. And that one, was that in the same area?
That was on top of the hill I was telling you about, where we found that first structure. Okay.
Okay.
I had gone there with my sister, of course, and the shutter motor went out on my point and shoot camera. So I was using my night vision camera in daytime mode. Because I didn't know my other camera was broke. But I took a series of pictures into the woods like I usually do, and I caught that. And this seems like a Bigfoot face impressed into the environment in a Bigfoot active area. Now, if it was Elvis or Wonder Woman, I would think, I'm just seeing something. But being what it is and the area it was in, you have to consider that there could be something to this. And what I thought of was I had read about remote viewing that the CIA and the government and other governments had used to spy on each other. And I thought this could possibly be a form of remote viewing that they used as a form of self-defense. And that could be one of the reasons they're so elusive and one step ahead of us. Because if humans can do it, it should be a primate activity that an intelligent primate could do also.
So, so my question then, you believe they're intelligent, right? I do too. One of the reasons I believe they're intelligent is because we have never caught one, and we cannot get a clear picture of them. People joke and go, "Oh, hey, they're the world's greatest hide and seek champion," but
they are.
In reality, they are. So, how do we ever really get?
Well, you were mentioning trail cams. I seriously think that they know what a trail cam is. And they see when they avoid it. They can recognize it as good as we can. So they're not fooled by it. You would have to hide one very, very well, which is difficult to do the way they're constructed.
Well, and especially if they see you coming, or if they're watching out for us as it is, so they would notice us putting up a trail cam, correct? So again, we would have to be really, really, really stealthy to do something like that. So, we both agree that they're intelligent. You said you were talking earlier about families. So you believe that they're breeding?
Oh yeah,
they have families. Okay. Where in the are they just located in the United States, or are they all over the world?
They are primarily on this continent in North America. There's the Yowie in Australia, which is a form of Bigfoot, and I've been looking into it, and they seem to act about the same way our Bigfoot does, but a bit more aggressive, a bit more primitive. You have the Yeren in China and the Yeti in the Himalayas, and I think those two are could actually be really Gigantopithecus instead of an actual Bigfoot type creature like we have.
Okay. So do you think they're curious about us at all?
But I think they have us pegged also.
Okay, which goes to their intelligence. If they know how we really are, then I'm assuming they'll just avoid us. Do you think they bury their dead?
I think they do, but not in the way we do. I don't think they dig a hole. I don't think they dig a grave. I think they bury them in a burial mound, and I think that could be how the mound building Native Americans got the idea for it, is imitating Bigfoot.
Okay. So how have we not found one that's been deceased? In your opinion?
Okay. One thing that I researched was in the early 1800s when they were clearing the land for agriculture, especially in the Ohio Valley and that area, that they would run into these mounds where they would find these giant bones, and they had never heard of a Bigfoot or a gorilla or anything like that. They thought they were the Nephilim from the Bible, because that's the only reference to giants they had at all. And they would rebury them or do something ritualistic to appease the spirit or to appease God or whatever. And I think that what they found in these mounds were actually Bigfoot bones.
Okay. So if they're almost human like us, do you think they're descendants of us? Okay, so they're a totally different civilization,
right?
Different species, to speak, right? So my theory, which I've just started thinking about, with all my research I've been doing with aliens and UFOs and stuff, and all the different species of aliens, could Bigfoot be a species of alien? Could Bigfoot be from another planet somewhere?
It would, to me, I don't think that's plausible, for the simple fact that they're not even known to use tools or fire. It'd be out of character for them to zip around the universe and come here and not even use fire or tools.
Could they? Well, true, but they could have been dropped off here, maybe. I don't know, but
there's a lot of conjecture. Like they could have been like a worker, a servant, or that type of thing, to where they had menial tasks and were left here accidentally or possibly on purpose. That's a possibility right there in itself.
So going back to the structures that they build, are you seeing these? Are these just laid out, or are they intricately placed pieces? Are they tied? What do their structures look like when you see one up close? Yes, all of the above, right?
There are so many. I have found dozens and dozens of them. And there's so many different configurations. It's amazing how many different ones they can do. But they have standard type structures, like the one I found on top of the hill. And there's several more. There's the one that's called an asterisk, which looks like an asterisk on your keyboard. But there are some that are just really elaborate. There's one in my book where, this was at Salt Fork, I found pine trees that were over a trail, and they were eventually, over time, the tops of these pine trees were woven together without the use of ropes or any bindings or anything like that. Now, this is back in the woods, and you're talking probably 10,
Right.
12 feet off the ground where these trees were woven together. Now, looking at these, it doesn't seem like this would serve any purpose as far as shelter, finding food, survival, that type of thing. And I found another structure in Zaleski State Park in southeast Ohio where there were 4 trees that were bent together towards the center, and there was a large tree placed on those to hold them in place. Now, that serves no survival purpose either. And the thought on these, to me, is that they could be possible artistic expressions.
And which goes back to the conversation you were saying about leaving a message. So that could be exactly what they're doing, is that's their conversation. Now, I've seen these Bigfoot shows, and I'm sure you've watched them too, hunting Bigfoot and stuff like that. What's your opinion on those kind of shows? But they never find a Bigfoot. I hear a lot of howling and screaming. Have you heard?
Yes, I have been growled at twice. I've heard them whoop. I've heard them scream. I've heard them whistle. I've heard them tree knock. But like finding Bigfoot or Expedition Bigfoot or something along those lines, the Finding Bigfoot show brought Bigfoot into everybody's living room. Okay, that was a valuable service that they provided. Even though they didn't find it, a lot of people imitate the Finding Bigfoot crew the way ghost hunters imitate the ghost hunters. They gave them a template on how to do things.
Right. And I appreciate that, but to me, a lot of those shows don't give this credibility. It makes it hard for people like you or me that are trying to legitimately prove that there's a Bigfoot out there, and the proof that you show in your book, the stuff that you found and stuff, it's those shows that make people discredit. They try to discredit everything. You know, they don't want to believe it, which that's their opinion if they don't want to believe, but I just hate seeing these shows take it to, okay, like you said, it's entertainment. And you're not doing this for entertainment. You're doing this because you have a curiosity. You really want to know if it's out there, correct?
Now, like Expedition Bigfoot, they have so-called experts on there, but it's entertainment because there's a couple of things that I've seen that they do, that they have done, that absolutely make no sense whatsoever, but it's in their script, you know? So, in my opinion, there should be disclaimers that this is not authentic, or don't go out in the woods and do this, or whatever.
Right. This is for entertainment purposes only.
Exactly.
That's what it should say. Correct. Because you do get those people that, and I've seen them on Facebook. I've seen them on my Bigfoot group pages and stuff like that, that, you know, these guys dressed up in camo and they got the Bigfoot 4-wheeler. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? You know, this is not Bigfoot research. You're trying to profit off of what everybody else has been trying to do.
And they always do it at night. Why in the heck do they do it at night, you know? You can't see anything.
I know. Yeah.
Right.
You're not going to see anything. You're going if you're going to do it during the day. Exactly. Where you can hopefully find a Bigfoot and get some good pictures and stuff like that. So that's my soapbox. And I do the same thing with the ghost hunting shows, because it's like, okay, come on, really? But
that's like Ghost Hunters. That brought,
I'll digress on that,
the paranormal into your living room. So they did do a service there, real or not, you know.
But again, like I said, it hurts. It hurts shows like mine. And point in case, I had a guest on here one time who knew a lady that was on one of those ghost hunting shows, and she refuses to be on any other show after that because they just twisted everything and edited everything, that it made it unreal what she was really trying to tell people. So she was so upset about it. She's like, no, I'm not going to anybody's show. So for me, I'm like, great, because that's somebody I want to get on a show that's going to share their story, their real story of what's going on.
Now, I've actually been to a Finding Bigfoot town hall meeting. And I've met the Finding Bigfoot crew. So, but I've never investigated with them. I was never invited, but I don't think I would go anyway because it's at night.
Right, exactly. Bigfoot Research Organization.
BFRO, Bigfoot Research Organization. Talking about Finding Bigfoot, Matt Moneymaker is the one who founded the BFRO, Bigfoot Research Organization. And that's his
Matt Moneymaker?
His private outlet, I guess. And they actually do organized Bigfoot hunts at night, like in state parks and stuff, and that type of thing. And they're quite expensive. He makes a pretty good bit doing that.
And this is
they do
legitimate,
have
though?
a Bigfoot sightings database, which is something that anyone could use if they're looking for sightings, or if they want to report a sighting, they can do it through the BFRO website.
Because I went to there's a Bigfoot museum in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and my wife and I went there. That's where I think.
Are you talking about the one in Georgia?
No, is it in Georgia? I don't know. No.
Okay.
I don't know.
There's one in Georgia, not too awful far south of Chattanooga, and I've been there. It's the Bigfoot Experience or something like that.
I think that's the one. Yes, that is. So yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is in Georgia. Sorry. So yeah, that's the one I went to. And that was really fascinating. That place had a lot of interesting artifacts and details and stuff like that. But they're supposedly a place where data goes as well.
Right.
From what they say, they had this little room set up that you can't touch this, and DNA, and so have you looked into DNA on this?
I don't have the resources to do anything with DNA.
Okay.
In an active area, I took camouflage duct tape and rolled it to where a little flap was hanging down of adhesive and stuck it to a branch. And I got a strange hair on that I still have. I don't know if it's Bigfoot or whatever, but it was in an active area, and it was high enough to where a deer wouldn't walk under it or anything to leave a sample. But I don't have the resources to do anything with DNA.
So
yes.
You're a hunter, correct? So none of these things that you've seen lead you to believe, because I'm sure you've been
years
hunting
and
for
years,
correct? Years. Okay. So none of these would lead you to believe that they are a bear, because that's the biggest thing that everybody says is, oh, well, it's got to be a bear.
Well, in Ohio, there are very few bears, okay? There's bears in West Virginia and Pennsylvania, but for some reason, there's not very many bears in Ohio. They probably say there's less than 100 bears in the whole state. So it would be rare to even see a bear. I saw a bear track one time in Wayne National Forest in all the years that I've been hunting. So they are very, very rare. So, and in Salt Fork State Park, where I did most of my investigating, there was never been a bear sighted in that park.
Okay. So I used to live in Florida, and Florida has what is called the skunk ape, which is a type of Bigfoot. So what do you think's the difference between that one and maybe the one that's in the area that
I believe that Bigfoot has been around long enough to develop regional traits. So you would have a skunk ape that adapted itself to a swamp environment. You have the Ohio grassman, as it's called, adapted to the Ohio area. You have the Bigfoot out in Washington State and in the Pacific Northwest. If you look at the footprints, it seems as though the footprints from the Pacific Northwest are wider than the ones found in the eastern United States, and that could be they've adapted to a more mountainous terrain, so they use a wider foot.
So like the ones in Washington, kind of like this one back here, right?
Did you cast that?
No. Are you kidding? I wish. No, this is I actually got this from that Bigfoot Center. Okay. It's the Sheriff Dennis Hereford's from Washington from 1982. It's a copy of his cast.
You've heard of the Cryptozoology Museum in Portland, Maine?
Oh. I have not.
Lauren Coleman is the curator. Do you know who that is?
Okay.
He is. No. He's been around for years and years. He's done TV shows and that type of thing. He's a cryptozoologist, and he curates the Cryptozoological Museum in Portland, Maine. And one of my tracks are in that museum. Yes.
Really? Okay. Is that in this? No. Is that in the book?
Lauren actually wrote a.
You should have put it. You should have put it in the book.
Endorsement. It's on the back of the book. I met him at the Ohio Bigfoot Conference several years ago, and I had my tracks, my footprint cast on display, and he said, "Man, that would look good in my museum." So I said, "You give me an endorsement, I'll give you a track." So there you go.
There you go. So, what made you write the book? Because I know your research cannot be done. I know it'll never be done. Researching. So
I wrote the book because there didn't seem like there was anything else out there. Usually, when you pick up a Bigfoot book, it's stories of encounters, and it's usually stories of encounters of other people. Right.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do something about what I have found, because when I do this, I want to learn. I'm there to learn. I'm trying to learn something, ascertain information from this or that or whatever, even if it's just conjecture, trying to put some pieces together. That's why I wrote the book, is to try to teach a little bit about this subject. Even though it's just totally unknown, there are some facets that you can discern information from.
Well, and that's what I love about this, too. And I was so happy that you agreed to be on this show and that you wrote this book, because you're right. Trying to find a book out there with any information that is current is almost impossible. Even searching the internet, as much as I've looked on the internet, all I find are pictures, and it's getting harder and harder in this day and age to go.
It's terrible, because you can't really trust what you're looking at as being authentic, because they can fabricate so much with computer software. They can make anything look like anything, and it's they put it out there as evidence, and who knows where it came from.
Exactly, and that's what I love about somebody like you that's writing a book like this, because you're a normal, everyday person.
That's debatable, but
well, I didn't ask your wife, so don't ask my wife about me, and I won't ask about you. So, but no, you're an everyday person. You're not. This book was not expensive. Okay, you're not charging $90 or $100 for this book, so it was fantastic. And you're coming on a little show like mine, and you're sharing your information, and that's what I think is fantastic about this. I'm going to be reading through this whole book, and I probably will end up having to have you back on again, so that we can discuss some more stuff. But so I do have a couple more questions I wanted to ask you on this too. Is take me through a day of what you're doing when you do your research. When you go out,
when
what
I
are you
go
doing?
out in the field, okay, I'm from Ohio, and I retired to Tennessee about 3 years ago. And I found an active area that's only 8 miles from my house in Tennessee.
In Tennessee.
I am on the Cumberland Plateau, and it's just beautiful territory. And the area that I've been investigating is huge. I mean, huge. There's an outlook. There's a overlook you can see to the horizon. There's just trees and hills, trees and mountains. But there's dirt roads that go through it, and driving through the dirt roads initially, I saw structures along the side of the road. That's where I usually find them is just driving old dirt roads, and you see bent trees, and then you see structures, if you know what you're looking for. But a typical day would be going into one of these areas where I have found structures, and I'm looking for new structures, or if they've redone a structure, that type of thing, to see if it could be a message that they're trying to leave. I look for tracks. I have actually cast 2 tracks since I've been here in Tennessee. I have cast 8 tracks altogether.
Really? Okay.
The other ones were from Ohio. Yeah, I have cast 2 here in Tennessee in the last couple of years. But I go in quiet. I go in respectful. This is their living room, and I respect them. And I have actually run into them. I have encountered them 3 times here in Tennessee.
What is that like when you encounter one? What goes through your head?
I've encountered them several times in Ohio. There's never been anything aggressive. Like I said, I've been growled at a couple times, but to me, the impression I got was not a threat. It was a warning. It was saying, okay, that's far enough.
Get away.
Go about your business or whatever, and I just calmly walk away. And there's never been an instance where rocks were thrown or I was charged at or anything. It was just one growl, and that's all it took. I understood. But in Tennessee, the first encounter I had was along an old logging road. There's all kinds of old logging roads here. And I reached a high point on the logging road, and I saw something dark go behind the tree. Dark and large go behind the tree. Now, I thought that could have been a bear because there are bears in Tennessee. But I carried bear spray, so I wasn't really worried about it. And ahead of me on this logging road was a new structure that wasn't there the last time I was in that area. So I walked up to this structure. I was going to take pictures I took pictures of it. It was interesting because it was a teepee type structure, which, as the name goes, it looks like a teepee, but the left upright was upside down. And to me, that could have meant something. I was standing there taking pictures of this, and to my right, I heard 2 blood-curdling screams. So there's nothing in the Tennessee woods that's going to scream like a woman from an old horror movie. So I knew there was 2 Bigfoot in the woods to my right. So I just gathered myself together, and the logging road went to the left, so I just walked the logging road back to my vehicle, just calmly, just left the area. And then I realized that what I saw go by behind that tree was a Bigfoot.
So do you think they were female Bigfoots that were trying to warn or tell you get out, or they were just
I think
scared?
This was more along the lines of the growl. They were just letting me know that they were there and I shouldn't be. So that's why I calmly left. Encountering them before, I never felt fear. I never felt afraid or anything. I just realized that they didn't know me there, so I just left.
So these structures you said they were by the logging road?
Yeah, I was walking the logging road, and when it jogged to the left, right there was a structure.
So I wonder why they're putting them that close to the road, knowing
well, it's an old logging road.
Probably going to go down that road.
I could have been the first human they saw back there in a year, you know? It's just back in the woods, and there's miles and miles and miles of these old logging roads.
So I wonder, well, yeah, and that makes sense because maybe they're setting up there to food, deer and stuff might go down that path.
Possible. Like I said, I traveled the dirt roads looking for structures. I think they use the dirt roads. I think they use these old logging roads as passive least resistance. They use them like we do.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. So from there, you see a couple of Bigfoots, and then you leave, and you go home, and what?
Well,
tell the wife, I just saw some Bigfoots. She don't.
Yeah.
Really?
I take her ghost hunting and all kinds of stuff. She just, okay, whatever.
Yeah, my wife be like that with the Bigfoot. The ghost hunting she'd be good for. The Bigfoots and UFOs. I told her, yeah, I'm going to try and contact aliens or something. She's like, don't bring no aliens to our house. Don't bring no Bigfoots to the house. I'm like, okay. So, let's see, was there something else I wanted to ask you?
Have you been to Brushy Mountain? You need to
I
go
have
there,
not.
man. That place is haunted. Yeah, it's haunted.
I heard about that.
And I do my ghost hunting during the day.
No.
Well, I don't actually ghost hunt. I do ghost photography. I go into a haunted location, and I'll take 200 or 300 pictures, and I'll catch something usually every time. Yeah.
In that Brushy Mountain that you're talking about? So you do this, so you still do this?
Oh, absolutely. I probably do this more than I do Bigfoot hunting.
Really? Okay. Well, that's a whole nother show then. We need to talk about that then. So, where can people, I know what I was going to ask you is conferences. I heard you do a lot of Bigfoot conferences.
Yes.
Or you have done some. I know they had a Bigfoot festival that I was going to go to. I ended up having to work, so I couldn't go to it. In Pigeon Forge.
Yeah.
They have, in Townsend. How was
good.
that?
A lot of people. A lot of people there. I did really well on my book sales.
Good. So the majority of people you meet that know about your book and stuff, do they are they real receptive to everything you're saying?
Yeah, it's been like 99%.
Has it? Okay. Do you get the occasional people that are going, you're crazy?
I've seen some not so good reviews, but I don't pay any attention to them because like on Amazon or whatever, on the book page, author's page or something about the book, but you're going to have them.
Okay.
But as far as the festivals and the conferences go, do you go to those? Have you been to those?
I have not. Like I said, I was supposed to go to the one, but I had to work my real job, so I didn't get to go. But I want to start going to some of them because I'd like to set up my podcast there, and because I know there's a lot of interesting people out there. The one thing about the
festivals and the conferences is if you go there, well, they have speakers. They have like Cliff Barrickman from Finding Bigfoot and other speakers who give a presentation in their particular field. But probably 90% of the vendors there are selling like T-shirts or jewelry or trinkets or this and that and whatever. And I think I do so well in my books is because I'm one of the very, very few people there who actually do Bigfoot investigation, boots on the ground investigating. And they have stories to tell, and I love to hear their stories. And they go there to learn. They don't go there to buy T-shirts.
That's what got me about you was, I think I saw you on a group page or something on Facebook, and that's how I was like, okay, I got to find out what this guy. And then I saw you had a book. I saw you lived in Tennessee, and I was like, oh my God, okay, I'm going to reach out to him. And of course, you reached back and said, yeah, no problem. So that was great. So the conferences are good.
Oh, yeah,
you like
absolutely.
doing conferences. So do you talk about both the paranormal and Bigfoot, or do you just go to Bigfoot conferences, or do you go to paranormal
I've been
conferences?
primarily Bigfoot conferences since the book has been out. I have been to the Mid-South Paranormal Conference in Louisville a couple of times. That's really interesting. So yeah, I've been to both.
So you're retired. You're awful busy for a retired person.
I don't see how I had time to work.
Seems. I know that's how I'm looking at right now when I'm doing this. I'm like, I had to work today, so I'm like doing this right after.
And I'm not a writer,
so
I'd
rather
spent
do this.
30 years in the auto parts industry. So
Okay.
I
Selling auto
retired
parts.
from Napa Auto Parts in Columbus, Ohio.
Okay. Wow. 30 years selling parts.
So my daughter's a
That's
writer,
amazing.
and that's what makes all the difference.
She's the
I
one that
wrote
helped
it
you?
out, and she did the editing for me and made it comprehensible.
That would be my wife. Yeah, that would be my wife. Because I'm writing a couple of books right now too, and she looks at them and goes, "Okay, did you even go to school? Do you know anything about grammar and spelling?" And I'm like, "That's what I
Right.
got you for. You're the smart one."
I don't even know how to type.
Well, no, now I can type, but I type like this, so I'm looking for something I can dictate and it'll type
That's
it out
what I
for me.
use. I
That'll be
use
even better.
Dragon
Okay.
voice recognition software.
Okay, cool. So are there any, before I let you go here, I do want to invite you back. So if you do want to come back, please, that'd be great. Because I do want to talk to you and pick your brain about
Absolutely.
the paranormal, definitely. And, so what tools do you bring with you when you go on these Bigfoot, I don't want to say hunts because we're not really hunting.
I
them.
call it investigations.
Research, yeah, or research expeditions or something. But yeah, because the term hunt to me, I don't like because I
Right.
don't want anybody hunting them. I don't want anybody
No,
hunting.
absolutely
I don't
not.
want them killed. I don't even want them captured. I want to see a picture. I want to see a video that I can discern and really see. That's all I care. I don't want them bothered. Let them live their lives the way they've been living forever.
I take a
what do you
camera.
bring with
I
you?
have a point and shoot camera. I don't even use
Okay.
a smartphone. I have a flip phone, so I don't even use that
Okay.
type of phone to take pictures with. I have a point and shoot camera. I take that and I carry.
Is it a digital
it's a
camera or is it
digital,
still
yeah.
35 millimeter film?
I've advanced that far.
Okay. I was going to say, so you've actually
But
gotten to
I
that
keep
part. Okay, good.
casting material in my vehicle. So if I do run across a track,
Okay.
I can mark the location and go back and get my casting material. But I carry like a tape measure and a camera. And that's about it. If I see a structure or something, I take pictures.
No
of it.
gun. You bring bear spray though,
Yes,
right?
yes. In Tennessee.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because I was going to say, not a Bigfoot, but it could be another predator animal out there that you might have to worry about. So
I've seen bear sign, but I've never seen a bear in the woods yet in Tennessee.
okay. All right. So where can people find your
It's
book?
available
Mike?
on Amazon. It's available through Barnes & Noble, and it's available online through IndieBound.
Okay. Do you have a
use my
website
Facebook
as well?
I have a Facebook site.
Okay.
I have an author's page on Facebook where I usually post my any findings that I have, and there's links on there to buy the book. It's Author Mike Dupler on
Okay.
Facebook.
Okay. And what I'll do is I'll put links on here for everybody, so they can go out and get, and I highly suggest to go and buy a copy of Mike's book. Definitely. The pictures in it alone, because I'm a picture guy. I don't like to read a lot, but it's not a big book where, it's going to bore me. But it does have a lot of pictures in there, and I love looking at pictures because pictures to me are proof. When you have a picture,
and I want to add that
it's proof.
All the pictures in the book I took. They are mine. They're not from the internet or anybody else. They are my pictures.
Okay. And that's duly noted. And that's, like I said, that's what I love about somebody like you, because you're putting your stuff in. And you have a flip phone, so we know you didn't digitally do anything to them. So I was going to ask you if you have social media like Instagram or Twitter or anything, but
I use Twitter from time to time.
Okay.
It's limited because you have to make everything like a haiku or something. You can only have so many words. So
Yep.
I'd rather use Facebook.
Okay.
I haven't made it to the Facebook jail yet. So.
All right. Yeah, me neither. So, but somebody did hack mine the other day, so I had to get it. I had to create a whole new one because I couldn't get it back. So, all right. Well, I appreciate you being on the show. Like I said, I'll put links to everything on here so everybody can go find you. And if you have a conference or something, if you'd shoot me a message whenever you're going to be at a conference, because I'd love to maybe come down and meet you and put on my show and let people know that you're going to be there.
There's a Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Festival in Crossville in October.
Okay.
So,
okay.
I'll send you information on that.
All right. Get me that. Do that, because I'll definitely try and plan to go down there myself, and maybe I'll do a remote show from there. So I'll just do the show from there and talk to you when I'm down there, and let all my viewers know that where they can come meet you. And I'm sure you'll be selling your book down there as well, right? Do you have plans? Do you have plans for another book?
Yes.
Another Bigfoot book or a paranormal book?
Okay. I will do a paranormal book, but so far I've hit a roadblock because I want to do a picture book. But a lot of the pictures I've taken are in locations where now you have to have their permission to publish pictures from, and they're very reluctant to give that permission. So I'm working on that.
Right. Okay, what's your next Bigfoot book going to be like, if you want to give us just a little hint? Is this going to be a continuation of what you're doing now, or?
Origins.
Totally different. Okay. Well, we'll just leave it at that. Origin. Oh, that's going to be good. That'll be really good. Okay. So there you go. You heard it first here. Origins. Mike Dupler. So he's going to have another book coming out. So thanks again, Mike. I appreciate you being on the Ed Sullivan Experience. I hope you had a good time, and I hope you come back. And we will definitely have you back and talk about
I'll send you a
paranormal.
couple ghost pictures, just to tease you.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. That'd be fantastic. All right, great. All right, everybody. I want to thank you all for joining the Ed Sullivan Experience. We had a great time. Like I said, I enjoy having Mike Dupler on here, and we'll definitely have him back. Until then, you know where to find me, Ed Sullivan Experience. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Go subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can see this video that we're going to have, and this video will be on there. And the audio podcast, you can go to anywhere you get your audio podcasts, on Spotify, iTunes, all those places. There's too much for me to think about. So you guys know where to find me. Get those, download the podcast, listen to your car on the way to work, and you can hear me and Mike talking. So, all right, you guys have a great night, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye. Thank you.